everyone. If white plays e4, black e5, then knight f3, black can play knight f6. Um, Symmetrical alternative to the Ruy Lopez, and I'm gonna look at three moves here. Um, Bishop c4, least common of them, and here black has many options. He can go for example, the Boden-Kieseritzky gambit, and this is quite good for black. If white plays knight c3, then black can just take the knight and play f6. He has to be careful though, because if white castles, then if black plays something like bishop c5, then this is gonna crash through to the black position. So, but something like d6 and knight c6 are good, and holding that position, strengthening e5. And also white can try to attack here already on move 6, but if black plays carefully, he can maintain a small advantage. And another possibility is to just give the pawn back um, here with c6, and this equalizes. And a third possibility is to go to the Italian four knights game, and here if, well, white takes here, then d5, and if bishop takes here, it's bad because, well, king takes, and here black has a bishop pair and control in the center. If just castles, then black takes on c3, and now black can play queen e7 or f6, going again to the Boden-Kieseritzky gambit. So the other moves for white are, of course, knight takes e5, the classical main line. And here note that if black tries to copy white once more, then that at least gives white the better position. Let's look at the worst blunder that black can do. If he just retreats the knight, then this wins black's queen, and if he tries to protect it with the pawn, then that loses at least a pawn after d3, queen e7, takes, takes, or black's best try is to play queen e7, but here white still is better after after this sequence of moves, white actually has a big advantage. So that's why black usually plays d6. And here white must retreat the knight or sacrifice it. So main line is just knight f3, knight c4 is the Paulsen variation, knight d3, Karklin's attack, or knight takes f7, the Cochrane gambit, which is something worth considering. So, but if just knight f3, the main line, then black can take white's e pawn, and then d4, d5, bishop d3, and yeah, white will try to prove that this knight is misplaced, and black's trying to prove that it's well placed, and often black has to give up this knight at some point. And white can try to do um, also something different like this, just simplifying, but this just gives a draw mostly for white, so it's not very common. And also c4 here, which is called the Kaufmann attack. And also c3, here white has quick development and queenside castling. And note that something like bishop f5 here is bad because queen e2, threatening to play d3, winning the knight, that's pinned, and if black tries to unpin, then white can force the queen out of that e-file by playing knight d5. Here, if queen goes to e6, then here's a fork with the knight, so queen has to go back to d7 or d8, and then d3 follows. Anand himself fell for this trap once in 1988. I'm not gonna go through these Paulsen's variation or Karklin's attack or Cochrane gambit, which arise after knight takes e5 and d6. But or maybe I'll look at Cochrane gambit later in another video. But let's look at d4 now, which is the Steinitz variation. And here black can take on d4, and after e5, the game is approximately equal. And black can also take the e-pawn, and after bishop d3, d5, knight takes e5, and here either knight d7 or bishop d6, they're equal. And also black can try to play instead of d5, he can go for knight c6, which is going to get the piece back with d5, with the idea if the bishop goes to d3 then e4, and here white has several possibilities, and this hasn't really been explored that much in the game of chess, but white can give the piece back by taking on h7 and then taking on e5, or maybe bishop g5, or knight takes e5 looks best, and then if black takes there, then for example queen e2 takes, something like this, and it's quite equal, so it's an interesting variation. But yeah, those were some main lines and side lines, perhaps not all the main lines, but mostly side lines of the Russian game. Thanks for watching. Bye.